Joining us to review the front stories is our Public Affairs Analyst, Dotun Ojon. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Why all the big smile this morning?
I'm happy to see you. I've not seen you in like a very long time.
I've not seen the both of you in a very long time.
We're very, very happy to have you back. What did you bring?
I should ask you that, you know.
All right, let's get into the front pages. And on the front page of this Nigeria newspaper, the big story on this Nigeria is deportation. $20 billion U.S.-Nigeria diaspora remittances at risk because your uncles and aunties that have been there, some illegally, are going to maybe come back. So no more diaspora remittance. Stakeholders warn unemployment may rise with return of illegal immigrants. They urge federal government to improve on infrastructure, health, education, and the push for industrialization to create jobs. Abuja bus terminals construction generates over 3,000 jobs, says project manager. Budget increase can lead to inflation, exchange rate volatility, finance expert says. Vehicles, shops destroyed in Niger gas explosion as business owners count losses. Motorists happy over slight reduction in pump price of petrol. That's all on this Nigeria. Let's go to the Daily Independent.
Okay, the Daily Independent, the headline there says, report predicts price stabilization amidst record high food inflation. Let's hope it stabilizes or even comes down further. And on top of that, 167 billion naira MDA scams. Serap sues Tinubu for not prosecuting contractors. And the health sector's 1.07 billion must not be swallowed by snakes, monkeys, Article warns, because, I mean, we don't want history to repeat itself. We've heard this sort of things in the past. And Sam Nujoma, Namibia's first president, died at 95. A very sad one there of SWAPO. And NECA offers panacea to unemployment crisis. That's good news. Let's hope they take their advice. FCCPC excited as court affirms regulatory authority in telecom sector, and Nigeria-Israel more joint commission dialogue. There's another headline there in the Daily Independent. PDP crisis, any member who disobeys BOT will be thrown out, says Bode George.
All right, let's now move to the Punch newspaper. The big story is talking about the 70,000 naira minimum wage. State salaries rise by 90% to 3.8 trillion naira. 27 states depend on federal allocation to pay salaries, and they plan 6.259 trillion naira internal generated revenue. Freed Thai nationals held captive in Gaza return home. Rivers community deserted as cultists kill 19 residents. Drug couriers excrete 125 heroin wraps at Lagos Port Harcourt Airport. I saw that one and I was just wondering.
Yeah, there was even one that couldn't excrete everything. They had to take him to hospital to surgically remove the remaining.
My goodness.
I mean, you risk your life over $4,000. It's ridiculous.
It's wild. Kwankwaso win Aragbashola to get Southwest votes. Kwankwasia chieftain. FBN Holdings stock gained 17.65%, emerges best performing. Well, we have, well, they're still having their issues that they're sorting out. I hope they sort that one out soon. Why we won't appear before Ikimi panel, Autumn and others say. And that's all on the Punch. Let's move to our final paper, the Nigerian Tribune.
Yes, the Nigerian Tribune, questions persist over PDP National Secretary. I thought they had settled this internally. Why Board of Trustees backed Governor on Ironwood's removal. And on top of that, investors favor 364-day bonds, treasury bills. Court affirms FCCP's regulatory authority in telecom sector. We took that in another paper. And Navy intercepts 16 boats loaded with 1,000 bags of rice in Badagry. Talking about smuggling there. And 1 year after, Tinubu, Macron, Sanwo-Olu, others pay tribute to Herbert Wigwe. Benani won Adama 2023 Gobber polls, dismissed resident electoral commissioner. Insist Adama government challenges him to provide evidence. It's one thing to allege, it's another thing to prove those allegations. And the top headline there, federal government steps into power outage crisis at University College Hospital in Ibadan. Power Minister IBEDC MD visit hospital today. Patients not bringing generators to power wards, because that made the rounds on social media yesterday about, I mean, I thought There's no way we'll get this ridiculous, that patients will start bringing, how does that even work? Bringing generator sets to the hospitals. So I'm happy the minister is going there and they'll do something about this because it's terrible.
All right, let's start the story with the big story on this Nigerian newspaper, talking about the deportation. Ever since Donald Trump came into office, everybody knew that he was coming in with a mission. He has always been clear about it. Now we're seeing that the deportation, in the way that it will impact Nigeria, they're complaining about diaspora remittances being at risk. But let's get your thoughts
beyond diaspora remittances, they're also talking about
unemployment
adding to the unemployment.
Yes.
So you have people with American accents, you know, you're gonna.
I just want to come.
It's actually, it's funny, and at the same time, it's a serious matter, and that we need to look into. It's going to get to a point where, at every point in time, either we want to accept it or not, that a leader will rise somehow, and will continue to return people who are illegally occupying the space. I hope that that's also going to happen in Nigeria someday, because the direction of any nation is directly proportional to the mindset of leadership. So when you elect somebody to represent you, you are directly saying that whatever he brings in form of glory and baggage, that your nation will be able to accommodate that. So we are not a country that will support that our people will continue to move illegally to any country. We are also saddened with the fact that maybe some of these people actually were looking for a better life that they thought they could not get here. So we're saddened by that reality. But of course, I do not want us to pay attention to the negative side of it alone. The positive side is that we've seen a lot of Nigerians who have gone abroad. The essence of going abroad most of the time is to acquire skill and exposure that will help your country. And that's why you've seen in history all the leaders of our country at one point or the other, when they were fighting for independence of Nigeria, they actually went abroad to either get certificate, exposure, education, or understand how politics works. And they return to better the lot of the people with their ideas. So we should also be expectant that some of them are going to come back home, and if they are strong enough, what we should be sending to them at this point is word of encouragement. If they are strong enough, they are going to find their feet in Nigeria. Let me tell you that people who go abroad to succeed do not go abroad to succeed alone because of the environment there. They go abroad to succeed because they have faith that when they have lost faith in Nigeria, that once they get out of Nigeria, they are going to succeed. And once they get out there, they succeed. It doesn't mean that there are no opportunities within the country that people can actually explore and do something.
Well, you know what's worse is the fact that the Nigeria that they left at whatever time that they left, it's a completely different Nigeria than from the Nigeria that they'll meet. Whatever time, let's assume they left 3 years ago, even the cost of... Did you notice that this festive season, this December, those IJGBs that came back were complaining bitterly that they didn't know that this is how tough Nigeria has become? So I worry about how they would be able to fend and thrive, because even the Nigerians within Nigeria in a way are struggling. Yeah. Add more numbers to that, I wonder what this will be. And a number of people are blaming Donald Trump. Oh, he's wicked, he's this, he's that. Do you really blame him if he has to say, you know, if you're occupying our country legally? And
you can actually, for those people who want to blame Donald Trump, you know, we always have this idea of not always wanting to take responsibility. I'm going to cite an example of what happened in Lagos. Lagos state government at a point packed some people from the north and the south, and they took them back to their state. Do you know the philosophy behind that? He's directly saying that I got the same allocation from the federal government like your state governors. What are your state governors doing with their own allocation? You cannot continue to come here and burden the infrastructure that I'm using my own allocation to build. The same thing that nature gave to the United States is almost the same thing, or even more, that nature gave to your country. How we are turning that around from potential to viable product is where the question is. And our question over the years has been the question of leadership. And leadership is not even a question of being in position. It is we are replicating our attitude as a follower when we have an opportunity to lead. So the question that all of us should be answering is, how do we turn the potential we have as a country to Bible product that will give us a place in the committee of nations? So nobody should blame anybody for deporting anybody. We should actually be working on our own nation.
Now, Doctor, looking at this headline from this Nigeria, 20 billion U.S. Nigeria diaspora remittances at risk. Do you think is alarmist? Because oftentimes people think the Nigerians in the diaspora, Nigerians in America, are just hiding illegal immigrants and all of that. So for them to say this 20 billion, it puts the diaspora remittances at risk is quite alarming. You have medical doctors, Nigerian trained medical doctors that are thriving in America. You have professionals in the academia. You also have university professors. You have sportsmen. There's a huge Nigerian diaspora that are doing amazing things in Nigeria. So why would this Nigeria suggest it might affect our remittances? I don't think those that are doing menial jobs or that are there illegally even send such amounts home.
They do not. The reality is that they do not. I think this number is actually the total number of the money that came from that community into Nigeria, I think, within last year. And it should be made clear that if you are in a community and you are adding value, you do not have any fear of deportation. And like you said, medical doctors, anywhere you turn to in Nigeria, across the world, you begin to meet Nigerians that are doing exploits across board. I think it's a bit of an alarmist stance, but again, it's not going to take away from the fact that some of our brothers will be returning home. And the reality is that we must prepare for them. Our remittances will be affected, but not in the number that has actually been put on the newspaper. Yeah.
All right. Let's move to another story this morning, and let's move to the Nigerian Tribune, or rather the Punch newspaper. Punch newspaper talks about state salaries rise by 90% to 3.8 trillion naira, talking about 70,000 naira minimum wage. 27 states depending on federal allocation to pay salaries, and the plan 6.259 trillion naira internally generated revenues. Are you excited about this? The minimum wage, for the longest time, we've heard outcry, public outcry, by people who say that it's just on paper, that the minimum wage has not been affected. Yeah. But from what we're seeing here, according to this report, it looks like we are on the right path. Yeah.
So the analysis of the 36 state government of their budget has actually shown that minimum wage has actually affected greatly their distance for the year. But again, I think majorly we should not forget that this addition, this 90% rise, is not just a product of what civil servants earn. It's also a product of what political appointees earn, which brings us to the issue of the cuts that we have talked about in the cost of governance. Because now, I do not even have problem with how much politicians earn. The problem we have is that when you create an office, you're going to service that office legally. And there's a portion that says that people have the tendency of illegally also taking away from that office. What does that mean? If you give 30 people an appointment, I don't have problem with how much you pay them, because you should pay your leaders well. The problem is that these 30 people, maybe 10 or 15 of them, are going to cut corners. So it means that you have multiplied the chances of corruption when you give too many people appointments. So 90% is not of increase is not just what the civil servant earn, it's appointment here and there, civil servant. You know what happened in Rivers State, that one local government chairman actually employed as high as 120 special assistant and personal assistant. So these are some of the conversations that I think we should have. Now, everybody is pointing to the issue of leadership problem. And I think one area that we have issue in Nigeria is the area of corruption. And like I said about, I think I was telling you the other time, how we create legal means for corruption. So when you talk about leadership, you project on, oh, this is the amount of money I am going to spend. at the end of the year. When you create that loophole and you do not spend that kind of money on the thing you say you spend it on, you have created legal means of corruption. So that means that people are stealing. So in my head, I'm thinking that the number of people, if you increase the number of appointments from 20 to 30, you create ministry, from 20 to 28, you create this and that. You have also loosened or created an opportunity for people to take more money out of government.
Now, quickly, before we wrap up this segment, Dotun, 27 states depend on federal allocation from Abuja every month to Qatar. This is very shocking and revealing. Why is it that we still have states that are not economically viable? Your IGR should be taking care of things like salaries, and then you use your federal allocation for developing. Why are states so used to going cap in hand to Abuja to wait for federal allocation at the end of every month? Why are they states?
Okay, I think innovative leadership extends to how you can innovatively get your resources. But in Nigeria, particularly since 2014, I think the mindset of leadership has always been the only way government can make money is to tax people. Now, what happens when the people you want to tax fall further in poverty? It means that you cannot continue to tax them in their want, in their lack, in their poverty. Before you talk about taxation as being a very viable option, it means that to a certain extent your people are living in at least reasonable level of prosperity. Now, when you take it further, because I've had this argument over and over in fora, I had discussed and said, oh, okay, in 2014, the United Nations says that for poverty to be reduced, government needs to make more resources available to people living under the poverty line. Not that government should further tax them. Now, when you are in a country or when your government believes that the best way to get money is to continue to tax the people, it's going to get to a point that they will be stranded, especially the state government. And what are they supposed to do? The little money they have, they are supposed to invest it in service that will in turn bring money. And I've repeatedly talked about housing. I've repeatedly talked about transportation. You can't leave movement of people, for example, in Lagos, movement of 23 million people in the hands of charlatans and expect that you're going to get, how do you want to get money? And that's why you get, my friend walked into the chairman, the house of NURTW chairman in Ondo State the other day. He came back, he almost fell sick. With the amount of money he saw, it was like a bank.
Right.
So these are some of the conversations that we need to have. States must genuinely be interested in how to get money beyond taxation. And I'm thinking that agriculture may actually be a way to go.
Thank very important thing that we need to explore. That's why if we haven't figured out how to generate income, that we can't be talking about creating more states. But that's a conversation for another day, Dotun Ojon.